let's take a look at simplifying radicals and exponents. So the opposite of a squared x. So say for instance we had x squared. How do we get rid of an x squared? We would square root it in order to simplify. Okay, so like x, so say squared x. So x squared is really what it's saying. In order to get rid of it, we can square root it. And when we take the square root, that would be just x. Now, before we solve quadratic equations, we must first learn or just review how to simplify radicals. And so here's an example of a radical. So let's take example A. So step 1, in order to simplify it, what we need to do first is factor the radicand. It's called the radicand. The radicand is the number inside or underneath the square root. So we want to factor the radicand. And so let's try that here. So square root of 60, there's several ways you can break it down. So let's just say 6 times 10. We don't have any pairs, so really we're going to factor the radicand until we find pairs. And then the rest doesn't break down anymore. So let's do that. 6 times 10. So 6 breaks down to 3 times 2. 10 breaks down to 2 times 5. And it can't factor any more than that. Now what we're going to do is we're going to circle our factor pairs. So looking at this example here, we have 2's that are the same. So we can circle a pair of 2's. Now when you do that, when you circle a pair of 2's, and this is partly like step 3 as well, is that you're going to take out each pair. So step 3 is take out each pair as one number. So this 2 comes out as a single 2. Then we have what's left, which is 3 times 5. So what you're going to do is just a side note. Now we don't have it in this example, but when the number comes outside here, if there's something already there, you're going to multiply that number, or the numbers outside of the radical. So we need to keep that in mind. So if we take out 2 pairs of numbers, you multiply them together. If there's something already there, you multiply it to the number you're taking out. The next thing you do after you multiply is you're going to simplify also what's inside the square root. Simplify what's left. Simplify remaining factors. Under the radical. So what that means is we have our 3 times 5 here, so let's multiply it together. So this is 2 square root of 15. It doesn't break down more than that, and now this is completely simplified. So you know it's simplified when you cannot factor it any longer here, right? There's no pairs. Example B, we have square root of 96. So let's see, several ways you can break it down. I know 4 can go into 96, so 4 goes into 96. 4 goes into 9 2 times. So minus 8, 16, so 4 times 4. So therefore, 4 times 24 is 96. 4 times 24. Now I see a 4 here already. 24, I know I can break that down to 4 times 6. So that's a pair already. I don't need to break that down to 2's. I can circle that and it's going to come out. Now I'm going to leave the 4 times 4 alone. 6 we could break down to 3 times 2, but maybe you see that we don't have to do that, right? Because 3 times 2, I will not get another pair. And so that's going to stay the same. So let's go ahead and circle our pairs. The pair we have is 4. It comes out as a single 4. So it's 4 square root of what's left, 3 times 2, or the final answer is 4 square root of 6. Now, if you don't remember, why does it come out as a single number? So going back to, let's go over here. 2 times 2 is really what? 2 times 2 is really 4. And that's a perfect, we can take that out, right? It's perfect. So square root of 4 is just a regular 2. So what else goes after that? Let's see, square root of 9. Remember that is a 3. So if I were to break this down, square root of 9 is really 3 times 3. I would circle it, and it comes out perfectly. Now to get some practice, try these 4 out on your own. All right, if you tried this out, for number 1, you should have had 2 square root of 5. You could break it down as 4 times 5. If you started with 2 times 10, it doesn't matter what you start with. You will still end up with the same number. Number 2, square root of 108 is 9 times 12. And then, so you break it all the way down and you get 6 square root of 3. For number 3, 720, I started with 72 times 10. 72 breaks down to 9 times 8. And then 9 breaks down to 3 times 3. 8 breaks down to 4 times 2. And then notice it still breaks down further. So we get 3 times 3. The 4 breaks down to 2 times 2. And then we still have that 2 here. 10 breaks down to 2 times 5. So I circle all the pairs. And notice it comes out as a single 3, a single 2, and another single 2. Now, I didn't mention it here up here in number 2, but notice that we have to multiply those numbers together, the whatever comes outside. So 3 times 2 is 6. It's not 5 out here. Here, this is 3 times 2 is 6. 6 times 2 is 12. So therefore, it is 12 square root of 5. For number 4, square root of 100. So maybe you didn't even have to break it down because the answer is just 10. Square root of 100, it's perfect. It is just a 10.